And welcome into the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, December 30th, 2021. Vasivada Party, Charlie O here with you, sponsored by the Britannia Arms of Cupertino and Capitola, as well as Super Draft Pro. Check out Super Draft Pro for real fantasy, daily fantasy opportunities, real dollars, real opportunities. All right, don't forget, we'll be back for a special Friday football show at the top of the hour, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock on the West Coast. Semifinal Friday tomorrow. So with that being also being New Year's Eve, figure we get our football show in, the last shows of the year. Charlie, how are you?
I'm good, man. Are we going to start celebrating New Year's Eve tonight? Is that why we're not doing a New Year's Eve show? Is that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, something like that. Plus we got the football show. Plus we got football. I don't know how much celebrating I'll do. I mean, we're on the West Coast. At least those games will end by 8 o'clock or 8:30 on New Year's Eve. It'll be almost 11 o'clock or 11:30 by the time those two football games end.
I know.
It'll be interesting. Anyway, we're here 3 times a week normally. Starting next week, we will have our anniversary show on Monday, and then we'll go Thursdays and Fridays for the rest of the year for NFL playoffs. We'll preview the CFP final. That'll be on Monday the 10th, and then, of course, the NBA and NHL. College basketball, if they ever play any basketball in the next 2 weeks, we'll make sure we cover that as well, too. All right. Once again, we're here live on Thursday, December 30th. Don't forget to check out our social media selections. Every day at 6 o'clock Eastern, even though we may not have a show. Tomorrow we'll still be there at 6 o'clock Eastern for all the late games. Trying to do early for the early games. Starting next week, I think we'll be back into a normal schedule as well, too. All right. Let's get to it here, Charlie. The NBA, how about this week in the NBA? Let's start off with Christmas Day. How about Christmas Day was really a fun day for basketball if you're an NBA fan. Now, if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, it probably wasn't very good. If you're a Lakers fan, it wasn't very good. If you're a Celtics fan who blew a 19-point lead, it probably wasn't very good. And then if you're an Atlanta Hawks fan, it probably wasn't real good either because you have half your team that's on COVID as of today. But even back then, they didn't have Trae Young on that Saturday. But let's take a look at the NBA here as we open up as we close this year out and open up the second half, the second quarter of the season. What are your takes on the NBA starting with Christmas week going through this last week?
Well, Christmas Day was fun. I mean, it's fun just because it's become a tradition to have all those games. I thought the Golden State Phoenix game was interesting and fun. I thought the LA game was disappointing. Boston, wow, what a turnaround that game was.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is right now, this whole COVID thing has turned the league upside down. The bad news is they're fighting COVID. The good news is this particular strain of COVID seems to be not as intense, and everybody seems to be able to get over it quickly. So that's the good news. If there's a good news to a bad news situation, that's it. I do like what the league is doing in the fact that they, and I think it's also a good move by the Players Association in the fact that they're not just letting them play with short benches and that they're making them sign players for at least 10-day contracts to keep the rosters out there because I don't want to see players being overplayed in these situations because I think that could hurt them down the line in the playoffs. And also I like the fact that there are some players being brought in that may hook on with teams for the long haul. So we're getting a chance to see some players. I mean, I'm loving seeing Isaiah Thomas back.
Yeah.
He played 10 days for the Lakers. Now he hooked right on with the Mavericks and is playing with them. And I think he's going to wind up hooking on with somebody for the rest of the season. So that's just one example of where that's happening. So I think the league's doing as well as they can under pretty adverse circumstances.
Certainly an adverse situation. We've never seen anything like it. They handled the first round last year with the way the bubble went and how the season went last year. The 10-day mandatory period for most of the leagues have come down to 5 days now. So if you're vaccinated and you get your 2 negative tests, you only have to be quarantined for 5 days, and that's going in the NFL as well too. All right, the NBA, as we said, this week, what an interesting week this week from Christmas Day, kind of the unofficial start for a lot of casual fans. So the Brooklyn Nets still 23-9, even without Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving can only play in road games. James Harden's been pretty good. that team. I know maybe the East isn't as strong as everybody thought it was going to be, but boy, they're still pretty good and they're playing well. And I don't know how else to put it other than the fact that James Harden's really playing a lot better than how he started this year, because no Durant the last week and a half. Obviously, Kyrie Irving's only going to play in the road games. He's ineligible for about another week or so until they have road games. And then you look at the Chicago Bulls; they've had their own COVID issues, and they come out and beat kind of a tough Atlanta Hawks team that hadn't had Trae Young. Although they did have Trae Young back on Monday night, the Bulls ended up getting 2 wins over the Hawks to improve their record to 22-10. We talked about Milwaukee; they had a win over Orlando the other night. Not a big deal from that standpoint, but they did have that comeback against Boston Christmas Day. Miami had a game postponed last night, but they got a win against Washington. They blew a 21-point lead. For those that had -8, only won by 7. But you got to mention that. That's part of the deal here. So 22-13, postponed last night against the Spurs, who played well. We'll get to them in the West. And then Cleveland, no Darius Garland now. And Evan Mobley is kind of hitting that rookie wall. Kevin Love has played great this year, but they're still 20-14. And they're in the top 5. And the teams you thought would be at the top, Philadelphia and Boston and New York, they're all at the bottom. Charlotte, kind of a surprise. They got a big win at Indiana last night. So let's break down this East a little bit, Charlie, in terms of how you see it.
Well, I think Brooklyn you're absolutely right. They've been a big surprise because we thought that the way things were going there, when it was coming down to just being Harden, we thought, well, okay, goodbye Brooklyn. Well, surprise to us. Hello, Mr. Harden's back in a big way, and I think that's impressive. And I have to tell you, I'm not thrilled about the Kyrie move from the standpoint that I don't think it's great that he's going to just be playing road games. I don't like the look of it. Not that I don't think he'll help them. I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the scenario. But from the standpoint of what I think it'll do for the Nets, I think it's going to help him. I really do. As long as he can stay healthy, and I think they'll take every precaution they can. I think he'll take every precaution he can. I saw him interviewed this morning. He's missing playing basketball. I mean, you can hear it in his voice. He's been missing being on the sidelines. So I think that it'll help. I've heard people say, well, he's not going to be able to fit in there because he's not been playing with the team on a regular basis. Oh, come on, give me a break. This guy's going to step onto the court and he's going to fit right in with those guys. He's a pro. He is a pro player, and he's played with these guys. He knows where to go, and I think it will make an impact for them. I think they'll miss him like heck when they're at home, but I think it's going to be a big boon for them when they're on the road. So I think it's a great move from them. For the Bulls, I think again, it's health for them. The Bucks, I like where they are. I know they've been a little up and down, but I think they're going to be there all the way. Cleveland, all Cleveland has to do really is make the playoffs. I mean, that's the turnaround team of the season already. And I think that's good. Philadelphia is the team that I'm still scratching my head about. I thought they would be better. And I think they will be. I think maybe part of this is that they're trying to figure out, they're trying to come together without Simmons in that lineup. And I think they're going to do fine without him there, but I think they still have to, that's a big loss I know that he's not perfect, but that's a big loss out of that lineup. And I think they still got to put that together, but I think there's a lot there. I like seeing Charlotte doing better. And I think the Wizards are becoming who we thought the Wizards would be.
Well, they're having a tough time right now because they've had their own COVID issues. Bradley Beal's missed a couple of games, but Washington probably, that's probably where they are. They don't play a lot of defense. Neither does Charlotte for that matter, but at least they're getting some offense. LaMelo Ball back in the swing of things. Miles Bridges having a good year, and they're actually pretty fun to watch. I watched a little bit of them against Indiana last night, and they were an underdog. Indiana's played well at home, but they went in and if they hit their threes, they don't play a lot of defense, but if they hit their threes, they can pretty much play with anybody in this league. Yeah, Brooklyn's very interesting. Kyrie Irving, for somebody who was going to stand on his ground, that's the only thing I don't like about this. He was going to stand on his ground, not play. Basketball wasn't as important, quote unquote. And here he is looking at every angle and every opportunity to come back and play. So I get it. No, I get it. He misses basketball. He's a basketball player. But
I know.
And optics are optics.
Yeah, I know. And hey,
I
you
don't
know,
blame him.
I think we forget sometimes these guys are in their 20s,
Right.
okay? And you know, we call them men and they are men, but they're young guys.
They are.
And uh, you know, I think the other thing they look at too all of a sudden is they go, "Man, my career window is so short."
Right.
And I think that comes to play on him too at that point. So I'm not, you know, hey, I was mad at him for a little while too. You know, I ran it a little bit, but hey, I'm a forgiving guy, and you know, I just, you know, I want him to come back. I want him to be healthy,
Yeah.
and uh, and yeah, play
The
well, young.
league is a lot better with guys like Kyrie Irving
Yeah, they are. They
playing,
are.
and that's the
And you know what? He does have a good social conscience. And
right.
I believe that he is sincere in a lot of the things that he said. And it's all right to have a guy who's trying to bring some of that consciousness to the league and before the public. So, you know, you don't always have to agree with him, but it's not a bad thing to listen to him.
Now, the Chicago Bulls are very interesting to me. Billy Donovan, a really good coach. He had him in Oklahoma City. He's in the finals. He's got players on this team. DeRozan has been totally impactful in that
Yeah.
team. Now they got Vucevic back off the COVID list too, so they've got an inside-outside game. They've got guys that can play this. To Ayo Dosunmu from University of Illinois has played well as a rookie, and their roster is pretty stacked. Honestly, 22-10. DeRozan has played well. They've got Vucevic, like I said, in the middle, and a lot of guys that people don't know about. But here they are, 22-10, and they're right there. And I don't think they're going to fade. I mean, we just talked about how Washington might fade. I don't think the Bulls will fade because they play defense, and Billy Donovan likes to play defense. He did at the University of Florida. He did when he was at Oklahoma City. He's got guys that can score on his team, and the trades that they made, free agency they picked up. The Bulls, to me, are right now the team that I don't know if they can compete with the Brooklyn Nets offense right now, but then again, their defense can compete with Brooklyn's defense as well too so far. And then Atlanta, you look at Atlanta, they've got a lot of guys missing on COVID, but they got guys that can shoot. Obviously, Trae Young there, Kevin Herter, Capella at center. He's been really good at center for them. Once he got out of Houston in that situation, he's been really good for Atlanta. But here come the Bucks, and here they were. Giannis was out for a few games. They had their COVID issues as well too. Budenholzer getting ripped by local media and national media per usual, just like last year he did, and all he did was end up winning a championship. And they might end up being the team if they end up playing Brooklyn in the conference finals. I'm not sure that that's not going to happen because Chicago still has a little bit to prove. Atlanta's got to get healthy. Brooklyn needs to show that they can be cohesive once everybody comes back into place. It looks like Durant's going to be back this week, and Irving will be back next week for them. And then, of course, Harden's there. LaMarcus Aldridge also off the COVID list as well, too. He'll be back as well, too. So that's a big one. And Blake Griffin realized that, you know what, I give Blake Griffin a lot of credit. He said, we're winning, and I'm not playing, but that's not the point. This is a former All-Star. Obviously, pride and feelings are could be hurt, but he's not letting it show. And he's taking what Steve Nash has done with him. He's not getting a lot of minutes. And LaMarcus Aldridge, they're better with him on the floor than they are with Blake Griffin.
Hey, by the way, you brought up a good name there to be part. Steve Nash. You know, everybody kind of went, oh, okay, he's going to be window dressing, blah, blah, blah. And those guys are going to coach the team. You know, Steve Nash is doing a nice job there.
He's doing
He
a great
really
job.
is. You know, I mean, you've got all those superstars to keep together. And that can't be an easy task. And it takes a superstar, I think, to keep that kind of thing, that kind of team together. And he's just quietly, he's not seeking the limelight or anything else, and he's just keeping it together. And you look and you go, oh yeah, 23-9. Oh, okay, that's not happening by accident, and it's not happening because the players are running the team.
No doubt. I mean, Steve Nash is there to obviously do the basketball stuff, but he's managing people. They said the same thing about Steve Kerr coming out of the broadcast booth. Now he had a little bit of an advantage. He was a general manager for the Suns, so he understood what was going on from an administrative side. But to come in and coach, it's not easy. We say it's easy from the outside. It's not easy to manage professional athletes, and they're doing it with pretty good ease right now. The Budenholzers that have been the Nashes and the Kerrs that have played for a long time versus the Budenholzers that have been an assistant for a long time. It's just kind of the way it goes. Doc Rivers doing a good job in Philadelphia. He's a former player as well, too. And then you got Ime Udoka at Boston. They're having a pretty good year. They're having a lot of injury issues as well, too. But he's come in and kind of rounded out the Boston Celtics a little bit as well too. So yeah, good for Steve Nash, good for the Brooklyn Nets. The Bulls are right there; they're only a game back, and then Atlanta and Milwaukee, Miami. I'm sorry, not Atlanta, Chicago, Milwaukee, Miami. Atlanta's in the bottom half of the 10. Actually, they might not even be in the top 10 right now. But the 2 wins that the Bulls got, one at home, one on the road, were big wins considering that they didn't have a couple of their guys. So the East, what do we see in the East now as we go into January, Charlie? What are the teams at the bottom you're looking to make a rise, or what are the teams at the top maybe looking to go down?
Well, I think Atlanta will jump in to the top 10. They're in the 12th spot right now, but I don't think they'll stay there. I think they'll climb out of there. I think the team that I'm probably looking at the most that will drop out of that top 10 is probably Washington. I don't want that to happen, but I still think they're the pretenders there. I know they're improved, but I don't think they can hold there. But I think pretty much what you're seeing, other than Atlanta and Washington, that top 10 that you're looking at right now, I think is going to be the top 10. I think we're pretty much we've got enough body of work there now to kind of look at that. They always Dave Yeager always said, look at the first 30 games.
Yeah,
and I think we've seen enough now to say, I think that's pretty much where we're going to see the top 10 be in the East.
Thanks to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Live for joining us. You can always download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Don't forget social media selections every day during the week at 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock on the West Coast. Little early games here for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll be on as early as we can in terms of social media selections. This is our last show, this one and our Friday football show coming up in about 15 minutes or so. All right, Vasi Vada Party, Charlie O here for the Make the Money and Run podcast. Here we go to the West. Golden State Warriors went into Phoenix. Boy, they really took them apart. They've been struggling a little bit. They had struggling from the standpoint of they didn't have all their guys available because Andrew Wiggins was out, Jordan Poole was out, Damian Lee was out, Steph Curry. Steph Curry's like a baseball pitcher. He's got to ice the arm down for all the shots he's taken. But 45 points against Memphis, the win over Phoenix. Phoenix had a win and a loss this week. Surprisingly, they lost to Memphis. Maybe it's not that surprising they lost to Memphis, but they lost to Memphis at home. So a little bit surprising there. And the Warriors lost to Denver 2 nights ago. And Denver really rolled on them. And I love Nikola Jokic, and he played well. And they just have a tough time with Denver regardless. The 8.5-point favorite on Tuesday night. That was way too many, obviously, now looking at it because they won the game. But they did almost give up that lead. I wasn't in danger of the 8.5, but they were in danger of losing the game. So here we are, Golden State and Phoenix, 27-7, tied for the top record in the NBA, top record in the West, and they've lost. They've had their stumbles a little bit here, but where do we see Golden State and Phoenix going in the new year, Charlie?
Wow, I mean, could there have been more of a playoff atmosphere than what that was on Christmas Day? I mean, really, you just kind of felt like, okay, here's the Western Conference Finals. We're looking at it. Wow, what an exciting game that was. And I don't know. See, again, here's the problem. We don't get to see the Jazz. So we talk about Golden State, we talk about Phoenix, and then you go, oh yeah, the Jazz, 25-9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same number of losses as the Nets.
Yeah. And we just, because we never see them. We just never see them. They're just out there in Salt Lake, and they're just playing. Do they still play in the Corn Palace? Oh no, they haven't played in the Corn Palace. But you just don't see them, and they're just sneaky out there, and they're just happy playing basketball. And all of a sudden, boom, here they are. So they're kind of just out there. Memphis, now that they got Ja back and they're starting to come around. Man, they still play tough basketball there. They just have such a tradition of being so physical, and they just hold on to that, and they just beat teams up, man. They just love to play physical basketball. So that's there. Denver's going to come around. The 17 and 17.
I'm sorry, 17 and 16. You're right.
Yeah. They're going to get better than that. So, and then you look on down the LA teams. Good Lord, what is that about? I don't know. Um, I was listening last night. I forget who I was listening to, but somebody said, "Oh yeah, it's one of the stations out of LA." And they were going, "Oh yeah, the Lakers built for the finals." And the guy finally said, it was a local host. He says, "Who are we kidding?"
Yeah, really.
He said, "Who are we kidding? These guys are terrible." They're not going to the finals. And I'm going, oh my gosh, a local LA guy saying that, but I mean, really, I mean, who's anybody kidding right now with the Lakers? I mean, I've actually heard for the first time people talking scenarios of moving Anthony Davis out of Lakerland.
It's a little early for that.
Well, I think so too, but the problem is with Davis right now, and it's not his fault. He's not planning on this, but the problem is they can't keep him on the floor,
Right?
and that's he doesn't want that situation, but he right now the injuries are keeping him off the floor, and that's a lot of money and a lot of talent they have sitting on a bench. Um, but even when he's been on the floor, they still haven't played that well.
Yeah, it's been a little off and on depending on who's been on the floor with them. LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. I love Russell Westbrook's hustle, but he's going to be Russell Westbrook. He's going to take a lot of shots. He's going to miss a lot of shots.
I didn't like that get when they got him, and I still don't like the get now. And it's not that I don't like Russell. I just don't think that's a fit for that team, and I don't think it's a fit for him.
It'd be interesting because I read the other day where somebody had mentioned maybe trade Russell Westbrook back to Houston for John Wall. I'm going, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that'd be very interesting if that happens. I don't think they're going to move Russell Westbrook though, and I think they're going to get better in the second half. I think once they get a little rest here, things are going to happen, and they'll get better. They'll compete a little bit. They may not be Golden State, Phoenix, or Utah, or even Memphis for that matter, but they'll be there in the playoffs. And then anything can happen in the playoffs when you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to drop out. They're not going to make they're not going to fail to make the playoffs or anything. I mean, let's what is it now? Crypto.com.
Crypto.com. Absolutely.
Crypto.com is not going to, sell out and give it back to Staples or anything. It's not going to, LA is not going to collapse.
No doubt about it.
Badly. So, I mean, of course, that's not going to happen, but they're not going to the finals. Okay.
Fascivada Party, Charlie O here on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Don't forget the Friday football show. Special edition coming up at the top of the hour in about 10 minutes. We'll be on. We'll preview the CFP semifinals, the NFL weekend, another huge NFL weekend coming up. But how about on the NBA here? Utah got 2 wins. They didn't have Donovan Mitchell the other night. They beat San Antonio. They routed Portland last night, who's a mess right now. I don't think McCollum's back. I didn't see a lot of that game, but they were only a 7-point favorite on the road at Portland last night, 25-9. And then Memphis had the win at Phoenix in overtime, and then they had another win last night as well too. So right now, the top 4 in the West matching up against the top 4 in the East. I would have to give the overall advantage to the West right now with Golden State and Phoenix and Utah, the top 3 versus Brooklyn Nets, Chicago Bulls, and Milwaukee Bucks, though Milwaukee coming on strong. All right, let's look at the games today here real quick. Only 4 games on the slate. We'll talk about the games over the weekend until we get back on Monday. Brooklyn, 5.5-point favorite at home against Joel Embiid and the 76ers. These games end up being wars. I don't know if anybody can cover Embiid when he wants to play. I wish he'd just stay inside a lot more than he's outside, but 221.5. Both teams can score. We know Philadelphia's limitations, but boy, Joel Embiid, JoJo back, and he's playing all-star level basketball right now, Charlie.
Yeah. Again, 76ers, they should be better, but I think they're still trying. They've got a big piece that's missing, and they've got to learn to play without that piece. And I know people are going, well, Ben Simmons is not that good. No, Ben Simmons is that good. And they've got to learn to fill that hole. They will, I mean, first of all, they got a great coach and they've got good talent and they'll figure out how to do that. You look at those numbers, they give the Nets 5.5 at home. Well, you know what? Yeah, I get that. If this game were in Philadelphia, and they were given the Nets 5.5, I might go the 76ers. Because it's in Brooklyn. I'm not sure I can go the dog there, but it ought to be a pretty good. I mean, it's going to be a good basketball game.
We'll see what the Washington Cleveland game has to offer tonight. Washington, we talked about already, 3.5-point favorite against Cleveland. Cleveland missing both Sexton and Garland. They've been better than a lot of people thought. The Cleveland Cavaliers have, but this might be a little too much without their guys there right now. Cleveland sitting in the 5th spot in the East, and then the matchup, the rematch, Golden State at Denver. Golden State an 8.5-point favorite on Tuesday, comes back as a 4.5-point favorite, 218.5 at Denver tonight. You think that? I know they got beat, and they got beat pretty soundly, even though it was a close game on Tuesday night. These are the type of games the Warriors come back and play well in, though Denver gives them trouble. I'm not so sure if I'd lay 4.5, though, at Denver again, because I think that Denver's ready for them. They're physical with them. They know how to match up with them. And the Warriors right now, they're having a tough time rebounding against some of these bigger teams. And Jokic looked like he dominated a little bit on the boards, and they did get a lot more of the rebound opportunities than Golden State did the other night. And they'll figure out how to box Curry up. And this might be a Denver win at 4.5-point underdog tonight, Charlie.
I would be tempted for the dog here. And again, too, my theory about Mile High. You're coming from sea level, you're traveling, you're going mile high, and you're going up against a team, and you mentioned it right there, that's very, very physical. And of course, my bromance, Michael.
Yep.
Michael knows how to play defense, and he has teams that are very physical, and that's always been my one concern about the Warriors, is that when they get in against a team that's very physical, a la the other night against Memphis, they can have problems. The Warriors are a finesse team, and it's not that they won't work hard against a team that. And I just went away there. Hang on a second here. I'm coming back.
I see you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I can't see you. Somebody's trying to call me here, and I'll come right back to you. But anyway, okay. They are a team that will try very hard against a physical team, but if somebody's beating them up, it can slow them down. And so I got to tell you, I'm tempted there. And of course, I haven't made my decisions yet, because right now, particularly with the COVID situation, you got to go late right now. We got to wait until you find out who's in that lineup. But I got to tell you, I'm tempted to take the Nuggets there as the underdog.
All right, some of the weekend games coming up, New Year's Eve day, so we'll have some day games tomorrow. Suns Celtics tomorrow, Bulls Pacers. Good matchup this year. Hawks Cavaliers, pretty good matchup on Friday. Saturday, a few games to look at. They don't start till 3:30 Pacific time. Pelicans and the Bucks, the Bulls and the Wizards, Clippers, Nets, Nuggets, Rockets, Warriors, Jazz on Saturday night. On Sunday, with the NFL, not a lot of games. They all start at night. Mavericks, Thunder, Suns, Hornets to be pretty good. Pacers, Cavaliers, and the Knicks and Raptors on Sunday. And then Monday before our show, all night games, and a lot of games scheduled on Monday night as well. Last thing before we get out of here, let's talk a little college hoops. COVID running rampant in the NCAA hoops, the Pac-12, a conference that I cover. They have 3 games canceled this weekend. The UCLA, USC schools having the COVID issues. They were going to play Arizona State. It was going to be a big one, Arizona State, UCLA on Saturday. New Year's Day on Fox. That game has been postponed as well till later. Right now, the Pac-12 having a tough time. One Pac-12 game tonight is Utah at Oregon State. That's going to be one of those things that's going on. Duke is having problems in the ACC. The whole Southeast is having problems. What are we going to do with college basketball here, Charlie? It's been hard to kind of run around and kind of analyze college basketball with the way that it's been going on right now. Baylor, Duke, Purdue, Gonzaga, UCLA are in the top 5 right now. So what have you seen in college basketball? I know it's hard to analyze right now.
Yeah, Vasu, it really is hard to analyze, because the one thing that's going to happen in college basketball, and everybody has to understand that, they're going to be much more cautious with the kids. It's not that the NBA doesn't care about their players, but these colleges know they are custodians of parents' kids. So they're going to use greater caution. So you're going to see more games postponed, more games canceled. So from a wagering standpoint, just you're going to just have to watch, wait and see. And the good teams are going to be good teams, and bad teams are going to continue to be bad. I mean, I know that sounds very trite, but and under these circumstances, it's going to be the case because there's not going to be a lot of practices, and there's not going to be an opportunity for mediocre teams to improve. It's going to be those that have got are going to continue to get better, and those that aren't, I'm sorry, they're just not going to get better under these circumstances. And I don't know how the tournament committee is going to do anything other than just pick off the top teams. I mean, seriously. I mean, if you were on the committee, what would you do? I mean, all I can do is go, okay, I like these guys, I like these guys, and I like these guys because they travel well. At this point, I don't know how you do anything else. I mean, there are some situations where it looks pretty good. I mean, I watched an exciting game yesterday between Butler and DePaul.
Yeah.
It was a fun game, but Butler got out to an early lead, looked really good, and then they didn't score for the last 5.5 minutes of the game. They wound up winning by 3 points, but it turned out, I mean, they just collapsed. So, I'm going, okay, well, Butler's off the list, so, it's going to be tough. So just watch again, and it's going to be, it's going to be who's healthy, who's not.
There you go. Yeah, Mike Gallo, our friend Mike Gallo here on the network. I would not bet any college football game until an hour before kickoff because of the COVID. Yeah, it's COVID crap, but that's the way it goes right now. So
yeah, Mike, you're right.
We'll get into all the football here on the Friday Football Show in a second, but we've got to close out the Make the Money and Run podcast. Happy New Year to everybody. For those that aren't going to join us for the next show, we hope you do. We got a full preview of the NCAA semifinals going to take place tomorrow. Big NFL weekend coming up, but a lot of basketball once the college football season's over. Focus on the NBA and college basketball, and glad to see the NHL back as well too. All right, for Charlie O, I'm Vasi Vadaparty. Happy New Year. If you're going to stick around with us, come back with us in about 5 minutes. We'll be on with the Friday Football Show for New Year's Eve special with the College Football Championship and the NFL weekend coming up. He's Charlie O. I'm Vasi Vadaparty. Have a great afternoon. Don't forget social media selections, 6 o'clock Eastern every day. We'll see you then as well too. All right, take care. We'll see you in a couple minutes with the Friday Football Show, the special Thursday edition for New Year's Eve. Take care, everybody.